I would say it's run its course, but it hasn't run its course completely because, see if you agree with me, see if you've noticed the same thing. And if you haven't noticed this yet, I think there's going to be more of this. And I'm predicting a full-on public meltdown. The story out of Dallas this is over the past 3 days and continuing on, but the story is not the hiring of a nondescript assistant coach. It's a cascade of embarrassing issues which are ending with a public meltdown. And I think it's just now starting. I'm sensing, now you can disagree with me, but I'm sensing this is going to get worse. Maybe you enjoy watching an old man meltdown publicly, but I think the real storyline now is a full-on public, you don't understand me kind of meltdown. And I think we're just now starting to get a full dose. It looks to me, and sounds to me as if it's only going to get worse. So the last 10 months, let's just say 10 months, we'll say a little over a year, doesn't matter, of delusional Jerry Jones, stuff is just stacked up. Now, on one hand, I would say it's a different time, not just because of social media, but I think fans are different. It is the gambling / fantasy footballization of fans. And by that, I mean people are more connected to how the sport works. People are more connected to all the stats. People are more connected to salaries and statistics. People now are connected to what it's like to be a general manager. You now know, or think you know more than ever, about putting a team together. So there's greater scrutiny and awareness of people that put teams together. It's happened, I think. And I think that's part of what is eating the old man alive publicly. And I don't think it's going to end well. And I don't think it's going to end anytime soon. So this stuff is stacked up. Think about this. With Dallas, they have two players, that take up more than 60% of their salary cap. Two. And they haven't even paid their defensive star yet. By any measurement, that's pretty bad use of the roster. Pretty bad use of the salary structure, right? Their star players keep getting hurt. They win 7 games, but that 7 wins a year ago includes wins over Cleveland, the Giants twice, and Carolina. Mike McCarthy, mumbling Mike, told his boss to peace out to the point that he's now probably not even going to have a job. In other words, mumbling Mike would rather be out of head coaching than work for Jerry Jones, because that is the way it's looking. Okay? That can't feel good. The Philadelphia Eagles, you have 2 teams in your own division now that matter a lot. They're in the NFC Championship game. The Eagles have basically easily lapped Dallas in every way. And just think of it in terms of how they put their team together and how embarrassing it is for the Dallas Cowboys. And that is the Eagles now have the MVP candidate, an MVP candidate, an Offensive Player of the Year candidate, the Defensive Player of the Year candidate, and no less than 2 rookies, both in the secondary, who are up for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Every one of those players was acquired this year. That's a clean sweep of the awards, and they acquired all of them in a year. Right there while the old man in Dallas is watching. You know, one thing about football now, and again, I think people can relate to this because of, fantasy football, but you can in 1 year, you can become a good team. The Texans did it. The Eagles reinvent themselves in a year. They've acquired all the players I just listed. Every major award, they have a player up for it, and they're all brand new players. So it's not impossible if you know what you're doing. That highlights the problem in Dallas even more. I think that highlights the problem in Dallas that is producing the drooling, delusional meltdown that is happening as we speak. Jerry Jones then goes public. I think another bad move publicly, makes him look bad. Not sure he's quite understanding how stupid he looks at this point, but he's now saying that Deion Sanders was never really even a serious candidate. Okay? The delusional old man has passed on the chance in a year to hire not just one and an option of two Super Bowl coaches. In the end, he hired somebody named Shoddy, right? But all that's not the most obvious problem to me. I mean, I think that's, everybody, you can go online anywhere now and find people breaking down everything that's wrong with Dallas. I think you've all got to figure it out. I don't think that's that difficult. You don't need me to connect the dots how screwed up they are as a franchise when everybody else is doing something completely different. The problem now is Jerry Jones, the general manager. Not even Jerry Jones, the owner, but they're one and the same, of course. But Jerry Jones, the general manager of your Dallas Cowboys, is melting down publicly. He's doing that angry, old, get off my lawn rage. And I don't think it's slowing down. Try this. I think Jerry Jones has an algorithm problem. And I think I can explain that. It's like, and I'm not sure that he's not, it's like he's scrolling and all he's hearing as he scrolls, all he's hearing while he's scrolling is, "You're an idiot, old man." Because I don't believe for a second that he is oblivious to the noise. In fact, I think he is obsessed with the noise. And that's why the scrolling old man is not only now seeing memes and stories and commentary, people in their underwear in their apartments and neck-bearded guys all saying, "You're an idiot, old man." And he is freaking out. And he's going to do it publicly because that's what he does. Everything is being made worse because he can't stop scrolling and he just gets angrier and angrier. It's a bad public cycle that he's in. That's what I'm saying is now I think the story here. I mean, this is not necessarily now a football story. He screwed that up. Okay, I think you all got that figured out. They're not very good at that football stuff. What I think the story now is you're watching this guy, and I'm going to make some comparisons here and see if you agree, but you're watching this guy in the most high-profile ownership position, the face of the franchise, the face of the biggest, most lucrative franchise in all of sports. You're now, I think, going to watch him absolutely melt. He's going to fight with you all the time because I don't think he can stop scrolling. So the only other time I would say this, okay, he keeps fighting back. I played some of the news conference yesterday of him introducing Shoddy, okay? Remember, Texas Monthly named him the bum steer of the year. And don't think for a second that didn't bother him. All this stuff bothers him. He is an old male version of the Kardashians. This is his life, what you say and do. And it's just stacking up. There's nothing good said about him at this point. He can't look anywhere or scroll anywhere and feel pretty good about what he's doing. In fact, it's getting worse. So at this news conference, this I think is going to happen more often. He spent a half an hour of a news conference to introduce his new head coach by talking the entire time about how capable he is and how, in spite of what you're saying about him, he knows what he's doing. At one pathetic point, this is all done publicly. At one pathetic point, he says, quote, "I know I'm the best man for the job." When any sensible person is watching this come apart, and you're watching this thinking, no, old delusional man, you're the worst person for the job. He's the face of the franchise, and he's a public spectacle, and I think it's going to get worse. The only other time, let's go back in history. Not everyone remembers some of this stuff, but the only other time that Jerry Jones has been torched publicly to this level, at today's level, is when he fired Tom Landry, and that blowback was long before social media. So it doesn't even feel as loud, and there wasn't as much of it, of course. But he wasn't trashed publicly when he ran Jimmy Johnson out the door in the middle of a Super Bowl run. I don't think he wasn't. I'll tell you why he wasn't is because at that time, people didn't know who exactly was at fault for that breakup. And it was just too weird. I mean, one day you look up and there's a news conference and you're going, wait, what happened? And so we really didn't know. Until years later, we didn't know that Jerry Jones is, he's an authoritarian jackass. But at the time, Dallas was ridiculously good. They were a dominant franchise. So even that softened the criticism of Jones, because we all knew they would win. Then my opinion is, I don't think he was trashed publicly, not to the present day level, when he hired Barry Switzer. It was weird. I had to do my show for like an hour on my head because I said I would do it on my head if he hired Barry Switzer. And sure enough, like that afternoon, he hired Barry Switzer. But he wasn't trashed to the present day level when he hired Barry Switzer, because Dallas was a Super Bowl caliber roster and everybody knew it. And everybody knew as long as Barry Switzer doesn't mess with it, they're going to be just fine. That's exactly what happened. Switzer, we all knew, was a placeholder. And in spite of the jokes, he did it pretty well. He left him alone. He knew enough to leave that roster alone. So there wasn't blowback then either, I don't think. So he goes through a list of coaches through the years, most of whom you've never heard of: Chan Gailey, Dave Campbell, blah, 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 blah. He hires Wade Phillips. Bill Parcells was the most noteworthy of all. But the public never, in my opinion, reached the level of today. I don't think. He buys the club. He fires Tom Landry, and it was the right move to make. It was. They were an old and stale franchise that had won one game. The way Jerry Jones did it was typical tone-deaf Jerry Jones. It was the right call at the time, done the wrong way. But Tom Landry, as all people knew, particularly if you're middle-aged and above, and Jerry Jones was viewed as an over-the-top, overbearing hick. That's the way that was viewed. Now, they win, and they win pretty quickly, so all that stuff was softened. Still, to this day, the way he handled it, of course, was terrible. But fast forward to today. I'm just trying to compare periods of time in terms of blowback. And you fast forward to today, and he's viewed as, guess what? An over-the-top, overbearing, out-of-touch hick. The problem now, and this is what's starting to eat him alive, and it's starting to show by the day, is that it's a social media world, and everybody in their underwear is a content creator, and the easiest hot take of the day, it's just simple at this point, is Jerry Jones is, say it together, an over-the-top, overbearing, out-of-touch hick. So he's listening, he's scrolling, he's listening, he's scrolling, and he's pissed. And he's losing it trying to defend himself, which is the worst thing you can do at this point.
Hey Austin, Jeff Ward here, and I never thought I'd be in an accident and need a personal injury attorney. And then sure enough, less than a mile from my house, I was blindsided. I was injured. My world was turned completely upside down. I called DJC Law and their team took care of everything. I got the best result possible. Don't just take my word for it. They have over 1,000 five-star reviews. So if you're injured, call 512-888-9999 and get your justice at teamjustice.com.